Hi there. My name is Kay Moon, and I'm a Western astrologer and Twin Flame channel, and this is a movie. Haha. This is a video about the Cancer new moon on July 5th at 6:57 p.m. if you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States. If you're not, please check a time zone converter for your local time. Great to be with you for another lunar update. This will be the twin flame lunar update for this lunation. First off, I want to say thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to the channeled messages that I just released for the completion of the union window we just came out of that are guiding the energy into the next 5 years before we clock into the 2029, the next segment of union energy. I hope you found some validation for what you may be experiencing and clarification about where things are headed. I said it in the channeled messages, but I want to make sure I reiterate the union windows are periods where there is a drawing toward the connection. And in these periods, we get to see everything that stands in between us and being living love. The sign they come together in lets us know how to access union energy in the years after the union window until we reach the next union window. So for us, the access is going to be in the frequency of Aries. And I went into great detail about what that looks like and what we might see in the third dimension as far as social change. But of course, if you need some personal guidance around that, we can look at how you calibrate to union energy in your own chart for your connection so that you can open the magnetics for union. The reading calendar is open, so if you'd like some support with the way energy is shifting as we move into the second half of the year, especially now that Jupiter, the planet that I read as divine masculine, has changed signs for a nice long 1 year stay in Gemini, and Juno is wrapping up her 11-month stay in Virgo as she did her retrograde there and is now finally preparing to move forward. If you want to know what this means, this new energy, because there's definitely some new vibes here, I'm sure you feel it. Book with me over at kmoonastro.com. Link is below this video. Personal reading is all you need to get some insight into what it's going to take to cultivate the union energy in your particular connection. All right, so this Cancer new moon took place or takes place on July 5th. Here is Cancer new moon, and it is sextile Mars and Uranus in conjunction, trine Saturn here in Pisces in conjunction with Nessus. We do have a slight conjunction here to Venus. We have a square to the transiting nodal axis in opposition to Ceres and Pholus there in Capricorn, and we have a trine to Pallas inside of Scorpio and a sextile to Juno in Virgo. Generally speaking, this new moon opens the chapters, opens new chapters in the way of emotional congruence and alignment for everyone. I went into great detail about what that might mean. That can include changes or new emotional investments and commitments on the home front, the family front, with a mother figure or mother-in-law, and lots of emotional connection and receptivity. Went into great detail about this inside the Lightworker Lunar Update, which is published alongside this one. So if you want to have a listen to that, as part one and a framing for this part two, it'll help you better understand why I'm interpreting the energy for divine feminine and masculine the way that I am during this lunar update. If you're new, welcome. This part two video will provide intel about the movement of the divine counterpart energetics, but will make more sense after listening to that video first. With that said, let's dig into it. Juno, our divine feminine energy, is positioned in Virgo at the tail end of her retrograde journey. She was retrograde in Virgo from January 12th at the 21st degree of Virgo, traveling back to the 6th degree, where she went direct on April 21st. She moved back through the retrograde zone. So she went back this way. Now she's coming this way. She is going to leave the retrograde zone. She's almost finished. And this last leg of the retrograde journey is going to provide some integration of the lessons we got through the Juno retrograde period. So, this is a great time to take stock. What has changed for you in your connection since January? What has this invited you to look at in terms of how you operate in the third dimension? Virgo governs decisions, details, and discernment. What details have surfaced in your heart about where your connection is at? What decisions have been made or need to be made? What have you discerned about your connection and what it needs from you in order to thrive? This is a beautiful energy for deepening your commitment and connection to love itself and dedication to being that expression of love in the third dimension, as Virgo is a third dimensional sign. What are you guided to do with this energy? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. Now, again, the access point for union through 2028 are via Aries energies. That's all about taking action, doing. So, if you need help understanding that, the channeled messages provided in the last several weeks will illuminate it for you in rich detail. But if you'd rather just get it from the blueprint of your chart, you know where to find me. Juno at that 19th degree of Virgo is trying to Ceres here in Capricorn. She's all about closure of seasons. We've got a trine to Mars and Uranus and their lovely impulsive energy in the third dimension as well. We've got an opposition to Saturn in Pisces, who's conjunct Nessus and bringing in some form of structure and integrity to the conversation. We've also got a sextile to the new moon, which I'll get into what that means in a moment, and a sextile to Pallas and Scorpio, which talks about that self-protection of our deeper emotional journeys. The Juno Grand Earth trine, so we've got Earth energy here in Capricorn, Earth energy here in Taurus, and her there in Virgo, is solidifying the lessons of release, releasing the old, letting in the new. The release of anything in the connection that has been toxic, repetitive, but not constructive. That's the Ceres and Pholus combo over here. And the motivation to climb out of ruts with actions and behaviors with Mars and Uranus over here in Taurus imbues Juno's final moments in this 11th month Virgo retrograde chapter with some finality and clarity about what has to happen next in each person's energy in the connection to express love more directly in the third dimension. The thing about the changes is that they'll feel a bit impulsive, a bit like you can't help it. And for those who've been stuck in connection in any kind of repetitive cycle or looping toxic pattern, this will be an incredibly helpful energy because the impetus to break out and do something new, to get something new, is going to be unignorable here. The trick will be not falling into old traps of patterns when it comes to self destructive or connection destructive behaviors, as Pholus is sneakily lurking next to Ceres and influencing her cutoff from negative cycles. It would be easy to autopilot right back into those cycles if the impulsive energy influencing Juno from Mars and Uranus is not checked with this Virgo's higher level of discernment. So just be mindful of this, as action taken at this time can have very long-term impact with Saturn's opposition to Juno. Okay. Saturn's influence is also facilitating a tremendous amount of greater spiritual awareness, grounded spirituality. Saturn is really starting, as Saturn has moved into Pisces, there has been a real collapsing of the third and fifth dimensional separation energy. So if you felt like there is like this restlessness in you, because there's so much happening in the 5D, but not enough happening in the 3D. Thank Saturn for that, because it's really trying to help you pull everything from the fifth dimension into the third dimension as living love in your own life stream, above and beyond just what's going on in your connection. Certainly inspired by the connection, but it doesn't have to be limited to and shouldn't be. There's also Saturn talks about boundaries and integrity and wholeness. And so there's a significant level of rebalancing connections as Juno wraps her retrograde transit. Saturn is giving connections a bit of, hey, you do you and let them do them for those who identify in some format of separation and connection. And for those who identify in some format of union, you're also going to see there's a lot of weight that your words and actions can carry at this time, as well as a general interior guidance. That's the Pisces placement of Saturn, to trust your partner's capability to figure their stuff out, that the divine has got you. Those in a connection that they may identify as in union will also see that there's a resettling of the connection at this time, or some personal realizations about the individual needs that will facilitate the health of the connection will surface, need some discussion, and then need some action, especially as Mercury enters Virgo about a month from now. But the urge for communication and conversation will arise steadily between now and then. So it'll really serve to start laying groundwork with some open-ended conversations and check-ins. What do you need in this connection? What's changing for you in this connection? For those of you who are in some format of what you would consider union. Now, for those of you who would consider yourself in or identify in some format of separation, you're going to see that this particular energy really draws you into yourself. It gives you a level of clarity about what it is you need to do to change the health of how you are interacting with or holding the connection in a way that allows you greater breathing room in the third dimension. If you're identifying in some format of separation, you may start to get some insight into how you can Rubik's Cube or shift the puzzle pieces of your third dimensional reality for greater access to love to land, for love to land, whether that is with someone specific or with somebody new. Okay. We also at this time have, like I mentioned, some sextiles to Juno. Um, and we have Pallas sextile Juno. We've got the new moon sextile Juno. And these are really, with the new moon sextile Juno, we get a centralization of the divine feminine energy fields and the collective energy field. So there's like a way in which the divine feminine energy is permeating as an undercurrent to what's going on collectively and informing collective subconscious and their journeys, or the journeys with love, congruence, and emotion. Okay. This will also further amplify her truths in public narrative. We have certainly seen some of that in recent weeks in some of the news about women and women in politics, women in entertainment. We have certainly seen the journey of the divine feminine voice starting to really take shape as an influential narrative in the public sphere. Okay. The palace energy is going to allow a lot, it wants to do some self-protection work in Scorpio. She's very protective of the deep emotional processes for transformation. And there's lots of beautiful energy for growth, for becoming, for unfolding into higher levels and releasing what no longer serves, since Scorpio closes out cycles. Okay. This is going to allow many who identify in primarily feminine energy to focus on their own needs for transformation and emotional self-validation and protection at this time. Okay. Really beautiful energy. I think I mentioned this in the Lightworker energy update, but for those who have significant levels of water placements in your chart, or prominent water placements, sun, moon, and rising, or water stelliums in Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, emotionally, this may feel a bit like flood, inundation. Not to worry, this is a good thing. The unignorable emotions at this time as Juno wraps up her retrograde journey, are allowing you to see with some truth what your next step is in the connection, whether you are with someone or you're looking. Okay. Let's talk about the energy that I read as divine masculine here in Gemini. And if you need any help integrating that stuff, you can always find me over at kmoonastro.com. Link is in the description box below this video. And we can pull from your personal chart what is your personal next step to calibrate toward union energy as this energy is shifting. Because as we've moved into the second half of the year, there is a dynamic shift in divine counterpart connections due to the fact that Jupiter has moved into Gemini and Juno's finishing her retrograde movement through Virgo. Lots of release going on, lots of newness as well. So we've got Jupiter, the divine masculine, at that 9th degree of Gemini, sextile Mercury, who is conjunct Vesta. We also have a trine to the shaman's asteroid there in Libra, which is Libra's partnership. Shaman's asteroid is about learning lessons, bringing them back for the others that we lead. And then we've also got this trine to Chariklo as well inside of Aquarius. So this lends itself to a grand Earth trine, which is indeed quite heavy. Sorry, heady. In a really beautiful way. And it speaks to a movement of communication, consciousness, and positive self affinity in the divine masculine energy fields. And I love to see it. It's an energy that evokes optimism, new ideas, creativity, exploration of any sort that builds us up and reminds us of who we really are in our sovereignty. It's an energy that's opening the floor to us seeing the beauty in us, the good things about ourselves, and all the ways we can create through the divine at work within us. There's tons of opportunity for diving deeper on creative projects and getting extra divine support for them with Chariklo in the conversation here from Aquarius. And a lot of communication here, whether it's positive self-talk with Leo and the Mercury and self-sovereignty sign Leo, or Jupiter optimism in the sign of communication itself, that is Gemini. There's a lot of opportunity to love on yourself, be your own hype man, be your own encourager, and see the unique and different things about you as wonderful, beautiful, radiant, and as God-given gifts. The shaman's asteroid placement opens a capacity to learn about ourselves through the mirror of others in Libra and really see where we can be more fair, more just, more understanding to ourselves as we learn from the journey in connection. If you're identifying in some format of union, you're going to see this energy in both people's masculinity, looking for opportunities to take creative chances, to really lean into more self expression, whether it's in communicating with one another in new ways or expressing yourselves in new ways in the outer world. If you're identifying in some format of separation, there's a beautiful opportunity for self-honoring and self-reinvention with this movement. There's a chance to lean into who you are now, what you need now, and to vision and communicate that new version of your life now. So get creative, think big, let yourself say yes where you previously told yourself no, shed other people's shoulds. This is your life. You get to live it according to your standards. This is your chance to open a new path to a richer life and solidify that life with your thoughts, your words, and your actions. If you'd like some support to unpack this in a personal reading, this is the perfect time to book. Second half of July is open, and it's a great time to talk through the changes in connection and the new access to union through the Aries gateway, as it will be the access energy through 2028. Booking link is at kmoonastro.com. Half-hour reading is all you really need if you want to look at how do I access union. But if you want to look at the connection in totality and other areas of your life, I recommend you treat yourself to the full hour so that we don't run out of time. Okay? It's a pleasure and an honor to be able to do this with you. Again, thank you everyone who patiently awaits these updates, likes and comments and shares on these updates. I deeply appreciate it. And if you're new here, welcome. That Lightworker Energy video that got published right alongside this has at the tail end of it something called First Look, where I take a look at the Capricorn full moon coming up on July 21st to let you know how the energy progresses from here. Okay, take great care and bye for now.